I went to Villanova Law School, WVU MBA school before I went to law school, and WVU undergrad. I left the area for law school, and I practiced in Philadelphia and Wilmington, Delaware, doing corporate law and commercial bankruptcy, and for about 4 years. And then I moved back to the Pittsburgh area, actually, 2004, where I practiced commercial bankruptcy for 4 years. When I've done a diverse range of things as a lawyer. When my son was born, I decided to jump out of the law and utilize the MBA to do management consulting, and specifically turnaround management consulting for distressed businesses. So I was able to jump out, use some quantitative skills, dabble into the marketing and the operational aspects of running a business. So I did that for 2 years for a firm called the Meridian Group in Pittsburgh. And then when my daughter was born, I decided to start my own law practice. I really craved to get back to the practice of law. And so I did that. I started Salene Kraemer Business Law in 2009. And I do two areas, particularly of law, of corporate counseling, drafting contracts, doing incorporations for companies. And I also continue to focus on distressed businesses on the bankruptcy side. And then I also do I do litigation, commercial litigation, resolving disputes. About a year ago, I ended up lateraling into a big law firm called Burns White in Pittsburgh. It's the 10th largest law firm. And I was actually heading up their business practices group for a short amount of time, for about 7 months. And I tell you that because I want to tell you about my use. So as a business owner myself, as an entrepreneur myself, I was using all these social media sites. Particularly, I have a blog. It's called In Plain English. And I started that before I started my business. I started that in 2009. You'll see that I'll have the timeline here about my social media story. And then when I lateraled into the big firm, it was a totally different dynamic for me using social media. They liked it as a lawyer. They wanted me to use Twitter and the blog and all of that. But it was difficult. It was difficult because it was a big firm and they had social media policies, different policies for this, that, and the other. So I'll talk about that. So just recently, in the last month, I decided to return to my own practice again. This time, I have an office in Weirton, West Virginia, my hometown, and also in Pittsburgh. I'm delighted to be talking to you guys today because I think social media is, as a business owner, and even as a young student who's graduating that's about to enter into the workforce, I mean, it is here to stay, and it's a really important subject matter, and I'm delighted to share with you what I've learned in the last 3 years and what I've learned in the last 6 months. I've given this presentation a couple times, but we just fancied it up. I used Katie Imler. I asked her to be here today. She's a JD MBA student, to help me make it fancy and I was in business school like 10 years ago, so this is what the new business students, they add video, and as you guys can all probably too. So I added music there, which was a feat for me in and of itself to figure out how to add music there. But before I even started, I wanted to get an understanding of who you guys are, and if you have any specific questions that are top of mind that you'd like me to answer during the course of our, how much time do we have? Till 7? Oh, wow, we have a lot of time. So how many of you are students? Okay, so we have about 5 or 6 students. And then how many of you are business owners? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. And then how many of you are working for a business? Okay. All right. Do you have any specific things that you want to take away or know in the next hour and 45 minutes, which is a lot of time? Less.
Yeah. We have 2 different businesses. One, the business is acquired by sales reps calling on physician offices. And we want to get a social media presence for that company so that consumers, when they're asked what choice they want for home oxygen, so on and so forth, that they will choose our company. And the second business is strictly consumer services for healthcare, private pay, and that one's going to be even more driven by social media, and we're doing Zoo right now. So we just really want to start to get that.
So what kind of consumer services?
It's non-medical home care. Private pay caregivers take care of mom and dad.
Okay. 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 Anyone else want to tell me about your business, or go ahead?
Situation with social media type rules and regulations, I guess I want to say, for employees.
Okay.
how to control or how to put that in their job description or employee manual.
Okay.
What policies do I want to create?
Okay, we're going to cover that. Anyone else?
Financial services, Wall Street, heavily regulated, heavily watched industry, SEC, FINRA type.
Right.
Now in a very heavily regulated and paranoid industry, where does this fit, and how does it fit effectively?
Okay, anyone else?
We've had a lot of discussion with Facebook where I work, and if people are friends with your Facebook and employees, like, can they say things against the company? And can you put in place policies that protect the company? And we have an e-policy that we've been talking about for about 8 months, but we've never, came to a conclusion.
What kind of company is it?
Valley Hospice.
Okay.
And we have a Facebook, and there's just been discussions about different employees that became friends with our Facebook page, and if they posted things, what are the legalities of, can they say things derogatory, and that hasn't happened yet, but it has in other businesses, and when we're developing this policy, we want to address that so we have an answer before it ever would potentially happen.
Anyone else? Any of the students have any specific questions? All right, let's get started. I cover a lot of this, and then to the extent that I don't, at the end, remind me, and we can all just have a discussion. I hope this to be as interactive as possible. I'm just here to share with you what I've learned and what I know from my clients that I've worked on. I've done some privacy policies, terms of use for a couple of online companies. And I am by no means a social media expert. I mean, there are obviously people that focus on this. This is what they do every day in the marketing field, and I can just share with you what I've known. So, all right, cool. So, all right, this is just an overview of the presentation. I want to talk a little bit about what is social media just generally. And then also basically the benefits for a business and a professional or an employee working for a business, and then the downsides for a business and a professional. And then how to participate. I mean, some of you may already know. Some of you younger people may far exceed how I participate and are much more active than I am. So maybe I can learn a thing or two from you. But and then the legal and ethical issues that may arise, and then an open discussion about our experiences and any questions that we might have. So, all right, this is a cool video. Oh.
Brands in Canada, their communication with drinkers was one-sided. We needed to create a dialogue. With the 2010 Winter Olympics in our own backyard, Canadian pride was at an all-time high, especially on Facebook. So Molson Canadian helped people show their pride by allowing Canadians to change their profile pic to this, a Team Canada hockey jersey, which people could personalize by picking their own name and number. Since their jersey became their profile pic, posts, comments, and everything else they did on Facebook promoted the app. In just 5 days, over 260,000 Canadians had changed their profile pic to the jersey. As a result, the Molson Canadian Facebook page went from 32,000 fans to just over 290,000, surpassing the Canadian Facebook fan pages of Pepsi, Starbucks, and Budweiser. The jerseys even started appearing on Facebook walls of our competition. Major Canadian news sources and blogs started talking about the app. By the closing ceremonies of the Olympics, over 347,000 Canadians used a jersey for their profile pic, and Molson Canadian skyrocketed to the #2 Canadian Facebook page. Overall, the app generated over 300 million media impressions, proving that a big brand doesn't need to spend millions to cut through. They just need something as simple as a picture.
I wanted to share with you, Katie actually found that video because I think it's a fantastic example of the power of social media for one brand. And I know a lot of us are small businesses here, so our strategies and our campaigns might be a little different than this, but I think it's one example that is very powerful. And I said here, if you're a business and want to survive, you cannot ignore social media. And it should be noted that Molson, was anyone aware of this campaign? I was not. I remember that with the Olympics, they timed it during that same time. I know that this is their round 2. The first campaign flopped, and it was something like post yourself drinking with a beer on Facebook. It ended up being this media catastrophe because of young underage drinking or something ridiculous. So wanted to show you that. And just generally what because I think social media is just like a weird word. I mean, what does that even mean? And what does it encompass? And I looked at Wikipedia and a couple of definitions, and it says it's the blending of technology and social interactions for the co-creation of value. And it's the second one that I really, with the concept of Web 2.0, I didn't even know what that meant either whenever I was first researching this for a client. And I like that concept because it's basically, and I'll read this, it says a group of internet-based applications that build on the ideological and technological foundations of Web 2.0, which allows the creation and exchange of user-generated content as opposed to the passive viewing of content. So as opposed to the brochure that, like Carrie just handed out, it's the passive viewing of us, surfing the internet. But now it's user-generated content. That's an industry term of art as well, UGC, where we, as people who are surfing the internet, are uploading our experiences, adding our comments on blogs, adding our YouTube videos, interacting with a brand through Twitter, interacting with celebrities through Twitter, in a way that we never could before. People that, unless we knew them, now it opens up this door very wide to people that we don't know that may have the same type of interests or may have an interest in our product, and we can have direct communications with them. So I like that concept of Web 2.0. It's just not one layer, but it's two layers. And social media, so it says internet-based applications. So everyone, when they think of social media, they think of just LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter. But as you'll see on the next slide, it's much bigger than that. And I didn't even know this myself. These are just like the general categories. So blogs. Does anyone have a blog in here? Does anyone do blogging? Okay. I do a blog, as you'll see, and the power of blogs, and we'll talk about that. But basically, it's like an online diary. Like as a lawyer, I can put a blog post every day on legal issues or business issues, and it's on WordPress.com or Blogger.com or something like that. And I'll show you my screenshot. And then the media sharing, it's YouTube, Flickr, Slide.com. Flickr, where we're sharing our photographs. YouTube, obviously videos. Twitter is considered a microblog. It's basically, the 140 characters. It's a much smaller, amount of information that you can spit out just in time, in real time. And then social networks, online communities, obviously, that's what they're considered. And now there's these niche online communities. For example, one of my clients was called the motherhood.com, and it's an online community for moms. Facebook is the most well-known, and then LinkedIn is more professional. And then the collaborative sites like Wikipedia, where there's the definition of something and people can add what they also think it also is, which is interesting. But as you can see here, this is a more sophisticated breakdown of all the different types of social media. Like, for example, like social networks, I have LinkedIn and Facebook, but MySpace, and these other ones, I'd never even heard of them before. And then the microblogs, Twixter, all of this. It's like social gaming, that's also considered social media. So we're talking about an enormous universe of applications on the internet that we could encompass. This is, okay, this is...
Can I see the other slide? Can I see
yeah,
that slide again?
sure.
I just noticed. Just wondered what else
Yeah.
was, LinkedIn's under social now, okay. Is LinkedIn probably about the only professional one out there?
I haven't either. And I think for each industry, there's probably specific applications. But that is the most well-known.